Hi, we recently talked about how women can advocate for themselves and continue to advance in a post-DEI age. Today, we thought we'd talk about what the rest of us can do to help them.
Right. It's so wonderful to know there are so many allies that are out there and that there is a willingness
Yes.
to start to look at this. But I think the very first one that we want to touch on is really reimagining work. Right?
Exactly. So we have this paradigm of work being 9 to 5 in a continuum from age 21 to now, 71 or 78 or whatever. And the fact is that the majority of people, the majority of women, and increasingly more men, have pauses in their careers. So they might take a complete break for a year or two to take care of a newborn. Even more likely now than it used to be, taking care of an aging parent, because now people are living so long. So very common for people to take these career pauses or breaks. Equally common, maybe more so, taking some type of flexible work arrangement, maybe stalling your career, not going for a promotion while the children are younger, while you're nursing your father through end of life, maybe taking fewer clients or a smaller role or working part-time or going fully remote. Anything outside of the continuum of 9 to 5, 5 days a week in the office. So if all we consider real work to be that, then we're excluding a lot of people, including the majority of women.
Well, and I think that COVID opened up a door that brought flexibility into the workplace like never before. And so, we are continuing to have and see that flexibility and that these things are doable. But there are a lot of companies, organizations that are really thinking like, okay, we've gone back hybrid, but we might want to go back to 4 days a week. And so continuing to be open-minded to the fact that that pattern, that, that structure really was working for a lot of the population and our population, our audience.
Exactly. But the other thing that happened during COVID is that I think employers could no longer ignore the fact that their employees have children. Absolutely. And we say this all the time. You should, if you're an employer or a colleague or whatever, the fact that the smart and talented women in your organization are getting pregnant and having babies should be something that you look on really favorably.
Yes.
Because those women are the secret to our future. I mean, we don't survive if the 51% of the female population doesn't produce our future. So we can't penalize them for having that future, nor should we penalize them if they're taking time off or just scaling back to raise those children, because we all know that children do best when they're raised by a parent. So there's so many reasons to honor this. I think the other piece of it, though, is that once you acknowledge that caregiving work is important and that all the volunteer work that women do during those career breaks, like you did, like I did, like we continue to do, if you look at those things as having value of things that you might personally benefit from, then when that woman's ready to ramp back up, or if she's left work temporarily, come back in, she gets credit for that work.
Absolutely.
Because as we always, what do I always say?
What work is work, whether it's paid or unpaid.
Exactly.
This really is a partnership and should be seen that way. And we say to our students all the time and the women that we coach, it's your job to educate people about who you are and your voice and how you say this and how you present this and how you connect the dots for that hiring manager and explain to them how that, during your caregiving break that you did all of this really, really important work. And it also was building a skill set that is valuable in the workplace. So being able to be open to hearing that on one side
as an ally or as a manager,
and then also being able to articulate that as the woman that's out there advocating for herself. Okay, so let's talk about reframing work-life benefits.
Right. So first of all, your company, if your organization has good, robust work-life policies, meaning they have a flexible work policy that's broad, good paid family leave, good extended family leave benefits, these are not nice to haves or nice to gives. These are essential. These are expected by people coming into the workforce, and they are a really valuable benefit to your employees. The problem is they are very often perceived as women's benefits. So when no men are taking paternity leave because they're afraid they'll be ostracized, which happens all the time, and much more so in male-dominated industries like financial services and tech, then they're not going to take it. Then the family loses out on that benefit. My nephew right now works in tech, and his wife is a physical therapist. She took her 4 months off. And Tim just took off his 4 months. And now the baby's not going into daycare till 9 months instead of 4 months. It's a big developmental difference.
Well, and I love that because I think, my husband took the very traditional route. He
Yep.
works in finance.
So
He
did
took the
Bob.
very
Yep.
traditional route. And when I got pregnant with Harry, I had a later in life pregnancy. But I think my oldest was getting close to
Yeah.
college age.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and my husband got to be home, and he really got to experience
Yeah.
that relationship, that bonding in those at that early age, and he saw it so differently this go around.
Yeah.
I mean, they are pals.
Yeah.
And not that he's not pals with my other children, because he is, but there was something that he missed in those years that were really beautiful, and he's gotten to experience that this time.
And the key is, as business people, as citizens, we need to appreciate these things, because they may not immediately impact the bottom line.
Oh, but they
But
do.
the beautiful thing about any of these work-life benefits is that study after study shows that for all employees, they make for a happier employee, a more productive employee.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, happier, more productive means retention and profit. And that's what we're all going for. So once we can create a shift that says these are work-life benefits for everyone, not just for women, then women are no longer penalized, because when women take them, and now they might have a slightly discontinuous career, but men don't, then men have traditional growth and advancement ahead of women, because women have these kind of these checks in the negative column. So again, it's kind of these mindset shifts that we can adopt to help.
Okay, and just the very last one is to rethink the career break, right? To really rethink how
we perceive it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about that a moment ago, but we need to normalize career breaks. I mean, the statistics say that 50% of all professional women will take a career break of at least 2 years to care for their children.
Right.
And if we look at that as a career-ending thing, if they suddenly become invisible, if they're perceived as no longer ambitious, then we are penalizing 50% of the population. So instead of thinking of them as something outside of the norm, think of them as something very normal. And we use the word normalize them, because once that becomes just an expected thing, event, then women aren't penalized when they come back. And this is where good DEI has worked.
Absolutely.
It's not a matter of getting women in. Women have no problem getting into business, even in some of the more male dominant fields. But what happens is those DEI efforts helped keep them, help them continue to advance. And because we're seeing them, certainly in government, they're gone, but we're seeing that trickle down into private industry. That now it's beholden on us to make sure that we continue to offer those kinds of soft benefits for women and all caregivers in our workplace.
Right. And really what you're saying here is it's just a mindset shift on how we are looking at this. And that goes for the women as well, is to, really embrace the fact that your time that you've taken away from the workplace is extremely valuable, and that you need to own that and not feel shame around that, because we hear this all the time from students in our course, the whole beginning part of our course.
Right. We're not defending it. We're not apologizing. We're explaining it.
Right. We're peeling back those pieces where there is a feeling of shame. I should have stayed in contact, or I should have connected with these people more, or I shouldn't have stepped out because I was on this Ivy League track, and then, I was such an achiever. But you yourself have to really believe this as well. And so it's a collective mindset shift. When it comes
actually, the article I just wrote, I've written an article. We're hoping it's going to get some airtime, but we're calling it a DEI mindset versus mandate. It doesn't have to be mandated. Policies, like we just talked about, don't really need to be codified if they're really internalized.
So there you have it. If you like what you heard today, please like and subscribe. You can learn more about us and our programming at www.preparetolaunchu.com. Thanks.